we're born, I mean, and we know this, we're all born with a natural sense of joy and play and, happiness. It's just innate within us. And what happens is, and this is what was quite helpful to me to understand, is that and just there's been so much research now into childhood psychology that we now understand that children need two things from the time they're born. They need to feel safe and connected to their caregivers, right? But at the same time, they need to develop their authenticity, their natural personality, their will, their agency, their ability to make decisions, to know what their needs are and what they like and what they dislike. And you can see that in a 2-year-old. They're testing their, no, and I want this and I want that. And what happens is, particularly in the West, is that we have to sacrifice that second most fundamental need that children have, which is develop their own sense of connection to themselves, to their inner nature, to their, who they are. They sacrifice that in order to get the attachment and security they need because of our parenting styles of, shaming children and blaming children. And if we're in a situation where we're not safe, parents are fighting, or one of the parents leaves, or mother goes off to work when you're a small child, and you don't feel safe, and you're, and so what happens is we tend to then, we can't blame outer circumstances. We can't recognize the truth of the situation, which is that there's something amiss with the caregiver, because that would make us feel even more insecure if there's something wrong with the caregiver. Of course, this happens without thinking. I mean, children don't consciously think any of this stuff, but what happens is that we develop, as our brain develops, we develop these formations of personality, which become our personality, which isn't necessarily who we are, but we end up with these ways of behaving that we all recognize in ourselves, such as what we might think of compassion now as caring for others, but it's like it's a fundamental need to do what other people want instead of what you need and know. Your inner knowing gets sort of lost. Or another really common one is feeling guilt and shame, because that is a surefire way of cutting off any sense that there's something wrong with my parent. There can't be anything wrong with my caregiver, so it must be me. Mm. And this is well documented that this is what children do. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of why we end up this sensitive way, the way we are, because we are cut off from, not completely, not totally, but enough that we can be thrown off balance. And of course, this isn't just psychological, it's in our bodies, because this is another thing that we learn. And then, up until maybe the Industrial Revolution, even in our culture, when medicine decided that the body was like a machine, and we were just and it had nothing to do with the mind or the spirit. But up until then, body, mind, spirit was considered one thing. And most of you are familiar with yoga and acupuncture and understanding that what happens in the mind also happens with the body. So to be grounded and calm and happy and joyful in this world, we need to do, if we're willing, if we want to, we can take time to just be with ourselves.